We're back with Upstate Vuew episode 5. I'm here today with Mr. Joe Casella and Mr. Dante Rose, the team behind FC Productions. What's going on, guys?
What's up, Spina? Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to have you guys here. I'll give you guys a second to talk about your backgrounds, give a little intro into Joe and Dante.
Yeah, so my name is Joe Casella. I'm originally from Staten Island, New York. Went up to school at SUNY Poly. Had the honor of meeting Donnie Rose through baseball. And post-grad, moved back up for work reasons. But in my spare time, I record a podcast. Started back in the day, almost 2 years ago now at this point, my buddy Brett Flint. And through him moving away for work, was able to pick up Donnie, and now we just have a good time and talk a lot.
Yeah. So I'm Dante. I'm from Utica. Been here all my life. I moved to Baltimore, Maryland after graduating college and working a year here. Moved there, lived there for about a year and a half. I was on FC a couple episodes before Joe had me come on as the co-host. But when I moved back home, I think a couple months later, Brett was gone and Joe was just having some fillers. He asked me to join as a co-host, and been on there for, I don't know, about
6 months.
About 6 months or so now. Yeah.
It's lit.
So, Joe, take me back to the origin story of FC Productions. What made you guys want to start the podcast?
Yeah,
You said it's been about 2 years now.
2 years, yeah. I was living in Candle Lake actually at the time. Yeah, me and Brett, way back in college, we used to do this thing. We used to write diss tracks about a lot of our friends, just messing around, having a lot of fun, you know. We both like expressing ourselves creatively. And then it came to a point where it was like, a lot of our conversations were like, this is just funny. Like, why are we not just putting it out there for people to hear, just to consume for themselves? I always wanted to do a podcast. I think I'm probably most knowledgeable in sports about all things in the world. So just to get my sports opinion out there. And I listen to like some of the professionals sometimes, and I'm like, that guy is ignorant or he just doesn't know things. I almost felt like I could just do a better version in a more casual, fun way and just like BS with the boys kind of, you know? And everyone, just anybody can get involved. And so we just bought a soundboard, didn't know what we were doing at all, and plugged it in, played with a bunch of switches until it didn't sound terribly awful. And then eventually, you just start recording and you put it out there, and through just doing it often, you kind of progress and learn to love it in a way. So that's how it started, yeah.
So you guys talk a lot about sports, food, current local events.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. That's the focus. We're definitely heavy on sports. Today we actually just recorded the 65th episode of the podcast, and with football coming back this upcoming weekend, we just covered the whole thing. And we always do a daily debate at the end of each episode, which anybody in the world can relate to. It's just a fun going topic conversation. And like today we did the best type of cookie, your favorite type of cookie. Something as silly as that. So it's just a fun going, good time.
So how has it been so far? Have you had a lot of, at least friends and family and people in the area kind of engage with your stuff? And
dude, that's the most surprising part. I put it out there, and I'm not expecting anything. I did it because I wanted to enjoy it, For even if it's just me looking back at the episodes and looking at conversations I had with someone and had a great time. And then, I made an Instagram like maybe 5 or 6 episodes in, and we started posting them. And it got like a little bit of a very small niche following, man. Like, it's really cool when I receive a text message from a friend of mine who takes a one-liner from a podcast and was like, that's such a great line, that's hilarious. Like, this kid just sitting through 45 minutes of me rambling and is able to find something that they enjoy out of it, and they're consistently listening, which I couldn't be more appreciative and grateful of. We've had really, really good feedback, which is really nice to hear,
It's pretty cool just kind of giving anybody that went to SUNY Poly and was in our extended friend group a chance to kind of listen back into what's going on with people, our greater circle and just things going on in Utica. You always have a guest that's familiar on the show, and it's just a cool thing to check in on every week.
We're a tight-knit family. That's what we are, so it's good to bring everybody together.
So is there any animosity between you and Brett for you kind of taking the spot?
No, not at all. Brett's always been a great friend. He's a good time. I don't think Brett has any animosity at all or anything. He's just a happy-go-lucky kid. For me, Joe and I mean, we're very similar in a lot of ways. We have a lot of the same. If you listen to the podcast, we have a lot of the same takes and a lot of the same answers to our daily debates. We have the same answers a lot of the time. So we're very similar. Him and I could talk for days, and it's basically how it's been going is we're just recording a conversation between the two of us on topics that we're talking about, but we're just basically talking in front of the soundboard and microphone. But it's but it's been great. I mean, we enjoy it. We're comfortable with each other all the time. I mean, even when we're not podcasting, we do like an hour or so a week on podcast. We're hanging out. We're talking about like we're not running out of topics. We still can talk and do all that stuff. It's cool.
That was that was probably the easiest decision I made was picking a new co-host. So when Brett had moved, it was probably only 10 or 11 episodes, and you were actually my first guest who wasn't part of me and Brett doing our thing. We had one filler episode with Duke in the beginning because Brett wasn't there, but you were my first actual guest actually.
Yeah, what was that? Maybe episode 9?
10? I think 11.
And then I came back
recently.
40 maybe.
Yeah, no, I think even more recent probably. Yeah, because you
we
were co-hosting.
Yeah.
But that was the easiest decision. So I had Dante on probably twice previously, and both times it was just a very natural, smooth conversation, nothing forced whatsoever, which is how I like my podcast. I'm not trying to get people to say anything. I just like people who have opinions on certain things that we want to talk about, and we go off.
Sure.
But I thought it was the easiest decision ever. I didn't even ask one other person. I said, "Hey Dante, I'm considering doing a new co-host. Would you like to be the co-host of FC or whatever?" And he writes back, "Absolutely, 100%. I'm in. This is definitely a lock. If you want to elaborate on that,
Yeah, I remember thinking because when he left and you were doing filler episodes, you had me on a couple times, you had other people on, and I remember coming back, I was like, if I even thought about it, but before he even brought it up, I was like,
you were waiting for that text.
Yeah, I was waiting for that text, secretly waiting for that text, but I was also if he was to look for one, I was going to put it out there to him, be like, hey, if you wanted a co-host or if you wanted me to come on more often, if you needed anybody, I would do it. So when he sent me that text, I was actually really excited about it because I enjoy this. I've been saying this stuff before, not to Joe, we haven't had the conversation about hosting a podcast, but I've always said I want to do that. I could talk sports. I like to talk to people. I'm a people person, and so
it's funny how talking sports with your boys and just about anything local is so natural, but then people hear podcasts and it becomes this whole different thing. It's we're just recording the conversations we had anyway. What's the real difference? So.
It is funny. I just going on that. My mom, she's like, what are you doing? I'm reporting a podcast with Joe. And she's like, "Oh, are you gonna be on the radio?" I was like, "No, Mom, that's not what it is." She's like, "Oh, well, what are you doing?" I was like, "We're honestly just talking. I'm hanging out with him and we're talking.
We're being more productive than we would otherwise."
Yeah, exactly. We're putting out something. Yeah,
enjoy it.
Yeah.
I didn't even tell my parents when I made the podcast. They probably didn't know about it until I was probably 12, 15 episodes deep, and I talk to my mother. I'm very, very close to my family. Find that out from listening. Talk about my family nonstop. I think that's another reason we have similar takes, just like Italian upcomings, tight-knit family.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom on the phone was today. It's like, "You have a podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just talk to people." And she's like, "Oh, why didn't you tell me that? That's awesome. I can't wait. What's it called? I want to listen." So that was actually really cool. But I just didn't know, I don't know if I just showed up one day to my house and was like, "Hey, Ma, listen to this podcast." It's I don't know. She found out naturally, and I'm glad it went that way.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Do you guys find that having done so many episodes now, you've developed a certain kind of synergy with each other, and you're getting better and better at playing off each other on the pod?
Yeah, our conversations always flowed. I don't think there was any doubt in that, which is why that decision to bring on Dante was so easy. But sometimes we just did something that we'd never done before. We had a guest that both of us didn't know. So this guy, he has a company called Upstate Pizza. His name's Jalen Reeves. And
I know Jalen really well.
There you go. So I didn't know him at all. Never met him once. Dante knew of him a little bit through Tyler. And when Tyler was on the podcast, he told a great story about this kid who has his own pizza oven, and he goes and he makes these great pizzas around the area, caters parties and everything. And I'm immediately we do a segment on a podcast where we talk about the best pizza in the area. Immediately, I'm like, I gotta have this kid on. But having a kid on who you've never met before, kind of a little bit of pressure for me. I've never done that. I've always known my guests, so I was a little nervous going into it. But I think through doing it so often and so much recently, I was absolutely confident going into it, and I thought it went great in my opinion. I was very happy with the product.
Yeah, I think so too. Joe does a very good job with preparing and coming up with topics beforehand. So we're always ready to go. Remember when he first had me on as a guest, I had notes with me. On my phone, still on my phone, I'll have notes and stuff. So we're always prepared. We come in and we keep it we feed off of each other. So if he has a question to somebody, I don't, and I didn't have something, I base it off his question. So we're pretty good with that. We keep it. It's not awkward at all. No silence. We're good. Working on transitions and stuff like that. But it's been very comfortable, really.
When did you guys have Jalen on? I don't know how I missed that.
3 weeks ago?
Yeah, probably like 3 or 4 episodes
Episode
ago.
62, I think.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and listen to that one.
It's a fun one, man.
It is,
He's
man.
got a hot take that I don't know if you're going to like.
Dude, we talk pizza for like an hour, and then we get to his favorite pizza, man. You gotta listen to that.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I gotta hear
Check
that.
it out, FC Productions,
Yeah.
SoundCloud.
So, what have been some of the biggest learnings you guys have taken away from podcasting so far?
I love that question, personally. And I've said the same answer probably since episode 15 on, and it's still, in my opinion, the most important thing. And it's to listen to what people have to say, man. People have some interesting stories if you open your ears, and not just in a podcast setting. Like when you're out with your friends and you're having a couple beers at a bar, if they got something to say, man, open up your ears and listen. You're going to learn something. If you're not learning something, you're going to find something hilarious. People are telling that story for a reason. They want to be heard, and it's really interesting just to take in what people have to say and consume it.
Yeah, I have a very similar take on that too. It's cool to talk to people and get their opinions on things, and get an understanding of where people come from. We're all different, so it's good to get that point of view. And with myself, I work in sales, so it helps me to break the shell and come out of somebody's comfort zone and get different talking points with somebody, and it helps understanding people's backgrounds and different things, different topics. So it's I've gained a lot from that, really.
Do you guys think it translates? Because I find myself almost feeling more comfortable speaking in certain situations after having done even just 4 or 5 episodes on my own here, being on some other podcasts. Just kind of having to think on your feet almost prepares you for different situations in business and in life.
I agree entirely. I had a presentation to the board of directors for the college that I work with that I was extremely worried about, and even in the first 2 minutes of it, I'm a little bit shaky. Then I'm like, these are just people who are older than me and have a little bit more experience. Like, we're on the same. If I'm prepared and I know what I'm doing, they're gonna appreciate the work that I've put in to make a good presentation. And once I got that through, I was extraordinarily comfortable, and I thought it was the best presentation I ever had between high school, college. Up until that was a recent work presentation to a board of directors for the college.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like kind of like getting confidence. Like you're just being confident and not being afraid to ask questions or answer the questions that somebody's asking you. I mean, even with this right here,
Sure.
You're comfortable, and that's what we try to do. I mean, like you said, we didn't know Jalen that well, but we had questions for him, and you would have thought that we knew him. Like it was easy. And I don't know if it would have been like that for our first guest, together. I don't know if I can't remember who it was, but for us, we were well prepared, and now that's what we've been doing. So
I feel like putting something on record almost forces you to think about things in a deeper and more creative way too, because you're trying to sound good on the podcast.
Yeah.
You're kind of going deeper on some of the topics you might otherwise in sports, and actually drawing analytical conclusions instead of just kind of BS and hot takes. So
You don't want to make a fool of yourself. It's still going out to the public. Even if it has 30 viewers or whatever, it's still going out for public consumption.
yeah. So that kind of rolls into the next question I had. What's your mindset around the podcast? Because a lot of people hate on things for no reason and might say, who's listening to this? What's the point? But do you guys get some kind of intrinsic value from it, just for your own own well-being outside of who's listening?
Yeah, absolutely. People ask me a few times actually, well, how many people are listening to it? Do you have 100 listeners? I go, honestly, I don't remember the last time I looked at my numbers on SoundCloud. It's not something that interests me. If you listen and you like it, awesome. I appreciate it, and I'm extremely grateful for anybody who gets behind the idea and supports the podcast. And if not, no animosity whatsoever. Cool, man. If you're not into the podcasting scene, why would I force you to listen to me rambling about sports and food? That's not something I need you to do, man. And I do appreciate the ones who do support, but that's where I'm at on that.
Yeah, same. I mean, the way I've been looking at it is basically it's just us two hanging out for for an hour or so throughout the week, that one night or whatever. And us just talking and catching up. That's all. I mean, like I said, we're together a lot. I see him probably 3 or 4 days out of the week. We're always together. So it's basically just a thing, just catching up, and it's just a conversation. So if anything, even if there's no views or whatever, we're still having a good conversation and just hanging out.
No, definitely. I agree fully. I think way too often we get caught up in metrics and who's listening and this and that. And it's if you're having fun with it, getting something out of it, why not? And I think it's going to be awesome to look back on these things 10, 15 years from now.
Oh, yeah.
Just looking back on an NFL season preview. Remember that year?
Yeah.
It's like, who knows what Lamar Jackson would have done.
Yeah,
that
weekend
season.
recap. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be hilarious to look back on those things that you otherwise would have no insight into later.
Yeah,
on.
telling our kids that we had a podcast,
Yeah.
and then 20 years down the road, it's like, well, what's a podcast?
Yeah, whatever the new technology is at that point.
We just see people in front of us now.
Yeah, just holograms. With that, though, one other thing that probably gives me the biggest joy is having a great podcast with a guest who's never done a podcast, and that natural organic high that they feel. Where, oh my God, that was great. I can't wait to get back on the next time. Me hearing that gives me that same adrenaline rush of like, wow, that was awesome. Like I just made, like Jeff Albright is the perfect example. We had Jeff on recently, and every time I see Jeff now, he's like, dude, that was so much fun. We have to get back on the podcast. Like that's awesome. You know, we made like him have a great experience, and like even his dad came up to me at Jeff's stag party and was like, I listened to the podcast, it was awesome. Like that was like, I don't know, just hearing people have a good time with material that we've created is a good feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like at the end of an episode, we do this thing, like a really good episode, and it's like kind of like a running joke now, like where we're just like down, we're like, do one of those, like a clap, and we're like, wow, that was awesome, that was a good one.
Yeah.
It's got to be an awesome feeling, and just giving people a platform, you know, if it's just stuff in their own personal life or if they have something business-wise going on, it's cool to give people a platform and kind of cross different audiences like that. So,
Absolutely.
do you guys have any future plans that you want to share, upcoming things on the podcast?
I think probably the only thing that I could think of would be like Donnie and I pass around a mic when we have a guest on. I think we got to invest in like a 4-person
Yeah,
thing, which
yeah.
is not actual real future plans for where the podcast is going to go. I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm in no rush for it to go anywhere. I'm not trying to monetize my podcast or anything like that. People ask me that too. So that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing it because I enjoy it and I like the process. But for us, we should probably get a 4-person.
Yeah, we definitely need the corporate. It's funny. We just pass the mic back and forth to each other instead of like how you have this cool setup here. That's great. But no, that's something that we've been talking about it for like probably like 2 months now. We're like, oh, we gotta get this. We gotta get 4 mics. We gotta get a 4-third. But we just haven't done it. But it's been working.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Listen, I think that's the beauty of it. Starting where you are and just kind of rolling with it. And who cares? People are overvalue production and all the specifics. Like just go. And I would imagine even if you're not trying to monetize it, like if you do this for the next 10 years, there's going to be an opportunity down the line somewhere where someone's like, Joe, come do this. Or
even
Joe,
if it's
come
a
speak here.
separate career that I wasn't expecting.
Sure.
Like, I put on my resume that I'm a podcaster. You know?
Why not?
Why not? Like, and if someone asks me at an interview, it's like, oh, by the way, I see in your hobbies that you podcast. So it's like, oh, well, for the last 2 years, once a week, I put out an hour of material for people to consume. It's like, shows a lot, in my opinion.
No,
Like, and that's not why I'm doing it at all. I don't want to make it sound like that. But it's just a nice little additional thing on top of the enjoyment I get out of the creative process of making a podcast.
For sure, and I think about like the Barstool model. Like if I were to have a Vuew Media team creating content around sports and stuff, like I would definitely reach out to you and be like, hey, Joe, I need you on our podcast. So it's like you never know what those.
That was
connections
like
are.
we had a conversation when I was furloughed. I said, Speed, if you have any side projects that you want to do and you need something like creative, let me know. I'm more than welcome to just come in here, have a good time, and just create anything with it. Because I mean, I love what you're doing anyway. I'm a big fan of Vuew Media, and I'm always checking out. And we even got Frankie's podcast on there, which is awesome. Yeah, so if anytime I can do anything.
Shout out Big Place Podcast.
That's right. Shout out Big Place, the boys.
So, you guys obviously talk a ton about sports. A lot of stuff going on right now, post kind of COVID, NBA playoffs, short season MLB, NFL coming up. We'll talk some predictions on all of those, actually. What do you guys think? I know you might not be the biggest basketball guys, but any predictions on the NBA playoffs?
Dude, I was watching a little bit of basketball. I watched... I was very lucky. I don't watch a ton of it, but I was lucky. The game that I watched recently was the game that Luka hit that crazy game winner, which was just insane. I know that the Mavericks got eliminated, but that was wild. Like, that's like the type of college adrenaline that I'm looking for in basketball, and you're only going to get that, in my opinion, in NBA playoff basketball. Great to see, a ton of fun. In the West, you got the 2 LA teams. That's probably what it's going to come down to. And I'm not a big LeBron fan at all, but honestly, I am 100% rooting for the Lakers this year with obviously Kobe passing away and LeBron being the man in LA who's just a dominant force. And how great they've been playing, I think that's a team that deserves a nice little push towards a championship, and it'd be cool to bring it home to LA, in my opinion.
Yeah, I am a LeBron fan, basketball-wise. I think he's just a freak. In my opinion, I think he's the GOAT. I don't know. We're not gonna get in that discussion right now. But I love watching him play. He's fun to watch. Also, I think he's probably the greatest athlete of all time. But I think I have the Lakers taking it. I'm actually, over the past few years, I've become a fan of the Celtics. I like the Celtics a lot. Like, they're young players. Jason Tatum over there. Gordon Hayward. I wish the Duke could just stay healthy though. It stinks. Like, you just feel bad for him. But they're a team that I can see, running the East for a couple of years. The 76ers, they're just, I don't know. They just
just not clutch.
Heavily underachieving in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
I think there's a few teams that could. I don't want to make any bold predictions. Obviously, my gut says go with LeBron and the Lakers. That he's been dominant, and I'd like to see him get another one, especially in LA. But I think the Heat are playing really well.
Heat are playing well.
Celtics are good.
Yeah.
The Clippers have 2 studs, so it's really tough to call. But
Yeah.
Who could predict the Heat taking the Bucks 4-1, bro?
And
That's
it
nuts.
should have been 4-0.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. That game went to OT, right?
Yeah.
Nuts, man. And they swept the Pacers before that. So they were the 5 seed going into a 4 seed, swept them, goes in and should have swept the 1 seed. It's like, are they gonna play with the Celtics or the Toronto?
Yeah,
my buddy
Joe DeSaro has been telling me all year. He's been a Heat fan since way back before the LeBron days. He's just been a big D-Wade fan his whole life, and he's been telling me to watch out for the Heat, and I've kind of just been laughing about it all year. But after watching the playoffs, I think he's definitely got a case.
Dude, they're crazy.
You guys are big baseball guys, so what do you think? What have you thought of the short MLB season so far? 40 games in.
So we have weekly in and out pretty much ripped apart the commissioner of baseball and a few other things. But with all of that, I have utterly enjoyed this baseball season. As much as I've been ragging on a lot of different things. I rag on ownership. I rag on Manfred not communicating well with a lot of people. I rag on the way that players are getting COVID, which in other sports they're not, and that they're doing these doubleheaders and these 7-inning doubleheaders and a man on second base and extra innings. I've torn all of that apart, but in this weird, strange way, I have absolutely enjoyed this season. And it's cool to see teams like Miami and Baltimore, who normally in a 162-game season have no chance of competing. These guys are making playoff pushes right now. They're young, they're dynamic, they're having a ton of fun. The trade deadline is awesome, in my opinion. I'm having a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, it's basically, the games are cool. The games are good, fun to watch. Everything besides watching baseball, like the front office stuff, the behind the scenes stuff, has been terrible. But the games have been good. Not a fan of the 7-inning doubleheaders or the runner on second base. So, like, the rules are kind of whatever. Only rule, I don't know if I should the only rule, but I do like the DH rule in the NL right now. That's one, and I'm not even an NL guy, but I like that rule. But I don't know. It's cool to watch, like you said, with different teams. Like we were talking about it last week on our episode. Padres. When was the last time we were talking about the Padres being a playoff team and an exhilarating, fun, well-rounded team to watch?
Yeah, it is crazy how different 60 games makes it. Like the Yankees come out hot; they're the best team in baseball. They drop 15 out of the last 20, and now it's like that's a third of the season. So it's just
New York baseball is sad right now. The best I saw a really good tweet the other day. If someone told me the best baseball team in New York would be the Toronto Blue Jays, I would think you're lying. I think it was Anthony DeCombo, the Mets reporter. Great tweet.
It's true. It's true. And playing in Buffalo right now, I think they've won like 16 out of their last 21 games. Some crazy stat. I don't know, but
young and talented.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch. I've always been one for seeing teams that you have not seen in a while succeed. I've always been one for that. So it's cool to watch that.
It'll always be something to look back on too. Like remember that short season. I'm sure there'll be a million memories from this season.
A lot happened. And like the Padres, you mentioned the Padres. The Padres, it's a 60-game season. A lot of people are like putting asterisks next to this. They absolutely sold out and are going for it. They're going for the World Series. Yeah. They just sold out and like, all right, listen, this is our shot. Let's go for it. Let's do it. And people were ripping on Manny Machado a year ago, like, oh, he's going to the Padres to get a payday and throw his career away. Now this team has a chance of making a playoff run with him, Fernando Tatis, Eric Hosmer. That's a fun team, man. Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
So, you guys just did your NFL season predictions, upcoming season. Is there a game tonight?
Tomorrow
night.
So what are a few takeaways from the show you guys just did? What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, we could recap it briefly. Yeah, we just spoke an hour about football. It was pretty sweet. We have a lot of the same takes. We both expect big things from the Chiefs and a potential repeat season. They're definitely going to be a dynasty in their division. The team that we both absolutely love, and not that they're going under the radar, but I just don't see how they almost aren't making a Super Bowl, is the Seattle Seahawks. And a lot of people aren't talking about the Jamal Adams trade, man. They just picked up the best safety in football on an already really good defense and a crazy good offense. Like, we're both really high on Russell Wilson, have been. I think he's an MVP candidate every season. I love that Seattle team. I'll let you talk about the Ravens, obviously. You're a diehard Ravens fan.
Yes, sir. Yeah. No, we're both very excited for NFL. I mean, we said it on our podcast. When I went to work Tuesday, it was already a short week because we had Labor Day and all that. But I went to work. I was like, dude, we got football this week. I don't work to me is not even work. I don't even care. I'm going in there. It's already a 4-day week. We got football coming. But yeah, I am very excited about the season, and I mean, I am a Ravens fan, so I have a lot to be excited for. Lamar Jackson is very fun to watch, and I think the way he's playing quarterback and Pat Mahomes, they change how NFL quarterbacks are going to play from now on.
I mean, the three dudes we just talked about were Jackson, Mahomes, and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And they're all mobile, dual threat quarterbacks that kind of learn to protect themselves. And
that's the style it's going to be. I mean, you got right now you have at least 5 or 6 of those quarterbacks with a similar style. Mahomes, I have a way up top tier.
He's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Never seen anything like that in my life.
Not just from a skill standpoint, but being that young and just that much poise, never crumbling in the moment, just getting better in big moments. It's insane.
Yeah.
Was he 20, 25?
Younger, I
think he's
24.
Lamar's 23. I think he's 24.
They're younger than us. So
yeah, I know. All the athletes are younger than us.
It's funny to think like that, right?
We're washed up, Spina.
Yeah.
But to that point, one thing that we mentioned earlier today was you have to respect greatness. A lot of people are like, oh, let's see what Lamar could do. He might get hurt. Just sit back. I just said earlier that I'm not a LeBron fan. But you know what? I appreciate the hell out of him playing basketball, man. I sit back and I watch that guy in the court every day. He's, 38 now or something like that?
37.
37. Still absolutely incredible to watch and appreciate a man who's that talented at the game in all of the sports. If you're not a fan of LeBron, you can still watch his game and just be like, oh my God, it's unbelievable. I hate Tom Brady too. But guess what? Tom Brady's amazing, an incredible quarterback, so much fun to watch. You just got to respect those players. And Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, love it or hate it, they're the best right now.
Yeah.
So just sit back and enjoy the show because it's a ton of fun watching these guys play.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking for Tom Brady in Tampa Bay?
We were both so up in the air on that. We just don't know. I've always been, always hated the Patriots. I just never liked them. I was never really a fan of Tom Brady, but I have so much respect for the dude. And it sucks because there's times where I want him to lose so bad, but then when you get to the playoffs and the Ravens aren't in it, and everybody's like, oh, screw them, I don't want them to win, they're the worst, blah blah blah. I'm sitting there man, I want to see Tom Brady win again because it's just like you said, you're watching greatness. He, in my opinion, is the GOAT until Pat Mahomes takes it over to him, which I think he may.
It's insane to think that Mahomes has got that much more time to play.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy.
And how much he's accomplished already.
Yes.
It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Brady, they surrounded that man with offense. They improved the O-line. They drafted the best offensive lineman in the draft, in my opinion. They also have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, and O.J. Howard. And, Brady loves his dual tight end threat. They just signed Leonard Fournette, which is crazy. We'll see how long it takes him to get established in that offense. They have 4 running backs over there. The offense is insane. So they gave him all the materials to excel there. So I do think he will continue to succeed just because he's in a tough division, though. He's got to play the Saints week 1. 425, tune in. Woo! I'm getting hyped.
Yeah, I've been hesitant to give a definite prediction on Brady too.
Yeah.
I know if there's one thing I know about that dude, he is relentless in preparation. He will never stop ever. So I think it'd be stupid to count him out, but I also do know that at his age, he has shown a few signs of decline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Being a Patriots fan, I've seen it. But no, I wish him the best, and
Yeah.
I think he could come out and kill it.
Yeah, I'm so obviously I'm not a Patriots fan, but I've heard from Patriots fans like they wish him a lot of success. Like I thought Patriots fans were going to be like they're upset, but they actually took it a lot better than I thought they were going to. They were like, oh, thank you, Tom Brady, blah blah blah. Like it's crazy to think like I think of football, first player I think of is Tom Brady. Like my whole life I have had Tom Brady. I've just thought like that's football to me. So it's crazy to think. And as a Patriots fan, I'm sure it's even crazier.
Yeah, it's almost strangely refreshing though. Like I knew this time was coming, but being a Patriots fan since the time you're 5 years old and they win the Super Bowl, it's like this is all I.
Patriots fan?
When I was after the first Super Bowl, so
okay,
I was,
still I didn't know that. Jeez.
Yeah, so it's it's not something most people want to hear. So you kind of shut up, but it is cool to now start a new era and almost like look to build again. Because for so long it's just been, all right, we won. Like, of course you want to keep winning, but now it's something refreshing, something new to watch. So
as a Patriots fan, what's your take on Cam Newton?
I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
I'm really excited
how could
for
you
it.
not be?
Yeah.
I mean, you throw the Patriots coaching staff a versatile quarterback like that. It's gonna be something so different. It's gonna be something we haven't had in forever.
Yeah, totally different style of play. He's not catch and release. He's drop on that back foot and find somebody down the field, or use his big body to force a play. It's gonna be really. It's not Patriot football.
No,
he's healthy finally for the first time in a few years. It seems so.
They might convert him.
He's fun to watch. I love watching Cam Newton play.
Yep.
Definitely excited for that. So next thing I want to talk to you guys about, I feature a lot of Upstate artists, creatives, and different people between the podcast and the directory. We'll talk a little bit about living upstate. Dante, you've been here your whole life. Joe, you're kind of a transplant who stayed and seems to love it. So I'd like to hear that unique perspective. Give us your take on Upstate, and you came here for school and ended up coming back. Something you don't see a ton of.
No, you really don't. And while I was at school, you could have paid me any amount of money, and I said I would have never been back, which is even funnier. But when you're gone, you kind of miss it. It's got like a little. There's so many things that I find attractive in the city, between just the really great people around me, the overall patience as a city. The affordability was obviously a big one for me. I got a really good work opportunity, and I was able to make things work easily like that. But there's a ton of like sense of pride in the community, which is really a nice change of pace, which you don't see as much like downstate. Like I said, I'm from Staten Island, which is the forgotten borough. It's like, and everybody, including myself, just rips on the island, but no one else can get off. Like there's a magnet around that place, that's for sure.
Do you hate Pete Davidson or no?
No, I love Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson is vocally trashes Staten Island, and Staten Islanders hate him, which is why I love him. He made a joke on Saturday Night Live. It's a brutal joke. It's really probably the meanest thing he said. He said, I wish Hurricane Sandy finished the job. That's like,
that is just, oh, man.
You say that on a platform like SNL, man. Woo! Yeah, Staten Island hates that kid.
So, you don't find a place like Utica where you could come to school here and basically get right in with the community as if you were one of our own. Like, you're in with all the Italians in the area, which is something I don't know where else you'd find that in a college, or to be able to show up in the city and do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're close with a lot of the guys that you went to school with. They're still here. What has since you've been here, have you missed Staten Island though? Like your old friends, neighborhood?
Yeah, I always say the F's, the 3 F's are the things that I miss. I miss my family mostly. My family, I'm very, very tight with my family, but it's trending in a direction where they might end up here. So, we're looking forward to that. So that one I'll get back. 2 is my friends from home, my high school buddies, man. I have a very, very tight-knit group of people. We're luckily still in a group chat, and we still bust each other's balls all the time. And, when I go home, it's like nothing ever changed, and it's great to see them. But I do miss, like, my buddy Michael is down the block from me. He's been my best friend since I was 6 years old. I miss a text message, hey, be at my house in 2 minutes, Pokemon Stadium 2. No chance you could beat me in Chansey. I'm like, bro, you can't catch the egg. Just like, I miss that. I miss that quite a bit. And then 3 would be the food, man. And it's funny because people love food in Utica, New York, but being from downstate, the food is just superior in my opinion. You're close to some of the best restaurants in the entire world, and not only on Staten Island, but in Manhattan. I'm easily accessible to what people consider to be the greatest city on the planet, and that includes high level cuisine. So that I miss.
So I'll flip it around a little bit for you. You left for a little over a year, right, down to Baltimore.
Yeah.
What was your experience like there, and what did you miss about home?
I loved Baltimore. It was great. I had family there. My uncle, and I had a couple. I had an aunt there too. They were in like the outskirts of Baltimore, so my whole version of like Maryland was like nice areas. Like we went down like the harbor, the city. Every once in a while we were down there. The stadiums are right in the city and all that. And then my brother moved there probably about 4 years ago. So I was local for college, as you know. So I never really went away. So I was like, you know what? I'm young. I want to try it out. My brother's there, so I moved there. I lived with him for a little bit, and I lived right in Baltimore too. So it was cool. I enjoyed it. Definitely a lot different than Utica, like way different than Utica. But Utica's home. There was a job that popped up that I saw, and I was like, you know what? I'm thinking of going back home. It's a good job. Can't really pass up on it. Let's do it. Came back home and been here a little over a year now, and we had this deal. Dude, we had this deal.
We had a deal.
We gotta tell you this one. We were talking. It was like it was like when I was telling him, he was like one of the first people I told that I was thinking of coming back, and he was like, oh really, blah blah blah. So we were talking, and I was like, Joe, if I move back, you got to stay. Like, you got to sign this contract. You have to be here for at least 3 years. So, right now we've been 1 year, but I don't think he's going. I don't think he's going anywhere. So
I ain't leaving. That's funny. I had something to say. I don't even know.
That's so crazy to hear to a lot of people from up here, because I've told you this before. Like, most of my friends, everyone in high school is, let's get out of here. Like, let's move to the city. Let's move to the West Coast. And which I completely get, but my attitude is like, I'm here. I mean, I love traveling to big cities and stuff, but you might as well enjoy being here and enjoy the perks of living in a small city like this and having a tighter knit community. I don't understand why people are so quick to kind of hate on it and stay here. It's like, if you're here, you might as well enjoy it.
I think that's a hometown effect. I'm pretty vocal about not liking a lot of things about Staten Island, and that's because I grew up there. I lived there for 22 years of my life. So when you're in the same place and you feel stagnant in your career and you feel stagnant in your life, you start to find all the worst things in the city that you're currently at. Where you go somewhere new, it's refreshing, it's vibrant, it's just a different change of pace. There's so many pros to going somewhere different, and then you learn to love that new city, which is kind of what happened with me. When I first came here, like, city mentality is a real thing. Like, people from downstate and they come upstate, they have it in their head because it's almost like you grew up with like, oh, upstate doesn't compete to the city. It's a whole different thing. It's a whole nother life. And then you like stay here for like a little bit of time and you realize that whole theory is just a load of garbage, and that there's so many great qualities in upstate that you can't find in the city. And like, there's great qualities in the city that you can't find upstate. You just find the best in the situation that you're in.
I think that's a good way to look at it. So, COVID, current events, how have you guys been impacted by the last 6 months? I know you're back at work now, but you were home for a little bit.
Yeah, I got furloughed in April, like beginning of April, end of March, and I'm very fortunate. I live with a good buddy of mine in a house. I rent a room from him, so I don't have an apartment that I owe anything to, and I had no income, and I couldn't collect unemployment for like 5 to 6 weeks. It just didn't go through. It was just a nightmare of a process for me, at least. I know other people had it really smooth. And I texted him, I was like, hey, like, if I move home, and he's like, don't worry about rent or anything like that. So, I mean, I just sent him a couple bucks for like storing my stuff because I was very appreciative of that. But went home for like 6-7 weeks. Couldn't really do anything because I went to like the epicenter of coronavirus at the time. I went to New York City during the absolute worst time to go to New York City. So I was literally stuck in my house with my parents because, one, I was nervous to get them sick. 2, no one really knew what was going on. And then the thing that stunk about that is, like, I do a podcast to express myself creatively, so there was no creative expression that I could do. I'm stuck in a house with my mom and my dad, It's like, what am I going to talk to them about, There's only so much we can catch up on. And, like, there was no sports going on, so I couldn't really have anything to do that. So it was like, The only thing I could really do was like a physical progression. So I did Insanity, which was nice. Got into that a bit. Lost a bunch of weight, messed around, had some fun with it, And then I came back up, and now I'm back at work. I got lucky, and I golfed a lot. That's really it.
For sure. What about you, Don? Anything majorly different?
No, so luckily I was very fortunate that we were open still. So I worked through the whole thing. I wasn't laid off or anything like that. So I worked from home for like 4 months, which was pretty sick. I liked it. I'm definitely way more productive in the office, though, I have to say. But I enjoyed working from home, just like waking up right before I had to be, I had to clock in, or I don't clock in, but before I had to get on my computer, like brush your teeth, get right in. And then, like, you just have a little more freedom. And then, like, my sister, when I was still living at home, my sister was also working from home. So it was, like, cool. Like, we were sitting there, she took a break. So then she's like, "You want to go get coffee?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we went and get coffee like every day. So it was like cool. Like I had a good time. My family, like we all were actually still very close. Like our close family, we all still kind of hung out. Like nothing happened. But like the scariest thing was like, or the worst part I should say was like I didn't see my grandparents for like a long time, and that sucked because I see my grandparents. Excuse me. I see my grandparents each like once or twice a week. So we're so used to that and then not seeing them. So like that, we were all like just nervous, like get them sick more than anything. But really, like nothing really changed for me. Like I said, very fortunate. Didn't lose a job or anything like that. So
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
So I usually end on some rapid fire questions. Some are consistent, some change from time to time. I'll give you both a chance to answer. Joe first. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oof. Man, right off the bat, I love it. Just as of like recently, I've been in the thought process of like wanting to buy a home. So I want to buy a home within maybe 2 years, which I think is a pretty big step in my life. I'd like to progress more in a career aspect. I'm very happy with my job right now. I'm fortunate that I'm back in the office doing that. But I think there's opportunity for growth for sure. And then I'm very, very happy in this city. I had this conversation on Twitter yesterday, actually, that at the time was the toughest decision in my life, and it has turned into the best decision in my life. So I definitely see myself up here with the same group of people who I'm tight-knit with now. I don't think anyone's going anywhere anytime soon, so just happy to be here, really.
Me, so I recently just bought a house, so I'm there with that. Man, 5 years.
Bastard, beat me to it.
Probably. I mean, I really like my job. Hope to advance, more with that. Maybe I don't want to say anything about marriage, but been dating same girl for about 5-6 years. So
I hope 5 years from now that you guys are married.
So it should be at that point. But no, I really enjoy my job. Hopefully some advancement there. I love the company that I'm working for. It's great. I'm enjoying it. And I'm big. I love Utica, so I can see myself being here.
You realize you just locked in.
Yeah.
on the Vuew Media podcast. So.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
So, current shows you're streaming on Netflix, Hulu, binging right now.
Ooh. I've been a diehard Hot Ones fan. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Hot Ones, but it's a celebrity interview where they eat chicken wings, and the chicken wings get progressively hotter throughout the interview to the point where they're unbearable. And right now they're going through like a little like quarantine phase, so they're sending all the hot sauces to like these celebrity houses, and they're just like over dousing all of these wings in like extremely hot sauces to the point where the interviews have gone so far off the rails. It's really, really funny. But as a whole, the guy who hosts that show, his name is Sean Evans. I think he's the best modern day interviewer of our generation. I think he asks excellent questions and does some phenomenal research. So along from the comedic element of that show, you're getting some really, really interesting, different celebrity interviews.
Awesome.
Myself, right now, we're watching Criminal Minds. You ever watch that?
No.
That's a cool show. It's like it's basically the FBI, but they're in like the behavioral analyst unit. So they're like analyzing like serial killers basically, and like getting like understanding like their motives and stuff. So it's pretty cool. But when I was working from home, you had me on Peaky Blinders.
The best.
I watched, when I was working from home, Peaky Blinders. I watched Silicon Valley, which I love. I watched The Sopranos again. And I watched The Wire. So like I've been watching a lot of stuff. Right now I'm on Parks and Rec too. So I've been watching a lot of stuff. But
I just did Sopranos for the first time in my life. I don't know how I had never watched The Sopranos, but while I was furloughed, I binged through that whole thing, and probably my second favorite show of all time behind Peaky Blinders. It was excellent. And then I go down these like YouTube rabbit holes and just get super deep into it. So I'm like, to this day, I'm still watching clips of The Sopranos. What means what? Like that, obviously the finale.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say anything because I don't know. I know a lot of people are binging The Sopranos right now. It's like maybe the biggest resurgence of any show ever. But there's a lot to that ending.
Yeah,
a lot to it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
What's a typical morning look like for you? Are you a routine guy? Are you just kind of winging it?
Yeah, no, I'm a big routine guy. I like my mornings pretty much the same all the time. I have 4 alarms. I work the same shift every day, 7:30 to 4. So I have 4 alarms. The last one is directly in the shower. Do my shower, get my thing. And honestly, I don't really consume anything until I'm in my office. You're in the office for like 8.5 hours a day. You're going to get a ton of work done. You have time to go through your social media and to check up on your fantasy lineup, in my opinion. And that's what keeps you sane at work. Honestly, you're more productive at work, keeping yourself busy with fun stuff as well, than just forcing yourself to work the entire time. So when I get to work, then I start going through all my stuff, catching up with life and everything. And then I start grinding through emails and making phone calls and making sure students are paying bills, baby. Let's go. And they're bookie.
That's funny. I'm a morning person. I wasn't always, but now I like to get into work early and leave early because I just like to have, like, after work, just like to do, my own thing, not have to like get out, rush here, and then you only have like a few hours, so you gotta be back to bed. So I get up. Recently, I've been going to the gym at like 5 a.m. That's a tough one, waking up at 4:30, but I've enjoyed it. It's been good just to get it out of the way. You feel really good afterwards, and then I'll get to work by 7. I'm out by like 4. So it's been cool. I liked it.
Are you crashing like mid-morning after that morning workout?
No, I have more energy after a workout than like waiting to hit the workout after work. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, like, because I'll wake up at 4:30, get there by 5. But like last night, I got to bed at almost midnight, and I woke up at 4:30. 4.5 hours. Went to the gym, worked, podcast. Yeah. I'm still good to go. Feeling
good, baby.
Yeah, like I don't really. If I'm tired, I just kind of like get through it. I'm like, you'll get through. You'll sleep. You'll get to sleep at some point.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
Favorite people, shows, content? You talked about Hot Ones a little bit, but anything you're following on social media right now?
Dude, like I mentioned, I go down these like YouTube rabbit holes. I'm on like a YouTube rabbit hole right now. Like this guy High Res and this guy Harry Mack. And I've been consuming all of their content. I think it's super fun. They go on like Omegle and like they rap the people on Omegle. And then like the one guy does like an Uber driver and he raps. So that stuff's fun. And then I'm big on I'm a big Twitch guy. Not a lot of people know that about me. That's how I go to bed every night. I put on a stream. Nick Merckx is my number one streamer. But a lot of my friends stream. So I'll hop in my friend stream like Jeff, who was the old lacrosse goalie for SUNY Poly, like way back in the day. We didn't even know each other that well. I'm in that kid's chat, catching up with him quite often. Like, Effie Tyne has a stream. I hop in there and say what's up. And, it's good to support other people, too. So I like just watching people play video games, man. I don't even play video games. I just watch people play video games. It sounds strange, but if you get into the scene, you'll hopefully enjoy it.
Yeah, I wasn't, like, big on that until after you told me about it. You were talking about like watching everybody play like Warzone or whatever.
Yeah.
So I watched a little Nick Merckx. I think the dude's awesome.
He's the best.
I've heard him like get on a podcast before, and I was like, this dude's just like a bro that just plays video games, but he's like cool. And my cousin also streams himself playing a little bit too. But I'm big in that. I like to listen to like podcasts otherwise, like for other stuff. Trying to get more out there with that. Listen to like other ones. But yeah, that's really about it.
I'm still stuck on Rogan, bro. Can't get enough of him.
I love Rogan. I have to listen to more of him. I listen to Part of My Take a lot.
Yeah.
Those dudes are hilarious. They're like kind of like we kind of talk about the same stuff as them.
Yeah, we do.
But they're just like I don't know. I'm big on Barstool a lot. So.
Who isn't there?
Yeah,
Taking over the
they're
world, so.
taking.
They really are.
It's crazy.
Best sports media company on the planet by far.
Yeah,
It's not
for
even
sure.
close.
Yeah.
If you could leave people with one piece of advice, either personally or professionally, what would that be?
I love that question too. For me, it's a cliche for sure, but stop talking and just do it, man. Like so many people are like, I would love to do a podcast. I'm like, if I could figure it out, you could figure it out. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Let's be honest here. If you have a passion for something, just go do it. Like Shane Jozic writing a blog, awesome. People streaming on Twitch, awesome. If you're passionate towards something and you find satisfaction out of it, just go for it, man. You're going to have a ton of fun. And, of course, the journey is going to be a mess. You're going to be like, wow, I can't do this. But just stick with it, power through, and I guarantee it'll be worth it.
Love that.
Yeah. Again, kind of the same thing. Like, I'm going to go with the cliche Jimmy V, like, don't give up. Because, like, there's...
Gary V?
No, Jimmy V.
Romano.
Jimmy
Oh,
V.
I thought you meant Gary V.
No,
That's
no.
not-
Could be either
That's
one.
our boy.
No, I mean, that's kind of, yeah, it could go that way, too. But, no, like, it's very important. Like there was times where like at my old job I was just like, man, this stinks. I want to get out of here, and then I just never did it. But then I was like thinking about like what I wanted to get towards, and it's just like push yourself, and then you gotta just crack the shell and get just do what you want to do at the end of the day, and don't give up on your dreams. I mean, I think what you're doing is awesome, man. Like you're pursuing, you're going after it. Like that's awesome. Like I give you a lot of credit for it. It's cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And with that, like a lot of people might be fearful to do what you did. I mean, you had an excellent career and you're passionate towards something, and completely drop that career and dedicating your entire time to this, which I think is freaking awesome. I think it's great. But for the people who are fearful, it's a long day, man. Like we work 8.5 hours, and the podcast is just like an hour out of my week. It's not even a second thought. Like that's just a simple thing. Mm-hmm. So you could still pursue your dreams while working a full-time career. Working 8 hours a day is only a third of the day. Like think about all the useless things you do in between those times. Just find times to do things like I also do a little bit of writing. Like I just love doing something like that. It's fun. So just find time to do the things that you enjoy the most, and don't say because you have a full-time job that you can't do something. You can still work on things that you're passionate and find creative enjoyment out of. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a great answer.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, I'll give you guys a second to plug FC. Where can we find you guys in the podcast world, on social media?
Yeah, man. We're on Instagram, FC Productions 21 on Instagram, and then on SoundCloud. A couple people tell me they can't find it. It's FC Space Productions. It's a picture of me and B Flint. It's a Christmas card picture. Follow us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Instagram. Take part in the daily debates. We'd appreciate it a bunch. Spina, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for being here. This was awesome. And yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah.
And, we'll talk to you next time.
Cool.
Thanks, boys.
Nope.
Doo-doo. Yeah, they can't keep up to me when I'm doing my thing. They can't keep up with me when I'm in the fast lane. They can't keep up with me. They can't keep up with me. They can't keep up with me. They got my song.